and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium. Good afternoon and welcome to Black Talk Radio News. My name is Scotty Reed, and of course, as I always state, I'm broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. Today is a Friday. It is December the 2nd, 2016. We're a little late getting on air, but please just bear with us. We were having some conferencing system, our phone system, so for those that's listening on YouTube or anywhere else, those numbers are no good. The conference line is no good. We are unable to connect to it, and I just don't have time to get with their technical department to get that worked out. But because we have a interview scheduled today, I would have just canceled the program, but I'm gonna go ahead and roll with it. If you have any questions, we're going to allow you to be able to call in, but you can call us at 704-951-5030. That's 704-951-5030. That's our old studio line. I just hooked it back up. While we do not allow people to listen on that call, on that line, they can call in with any comments or questions. So with that out of the way, again, welcome to Black Talk Radio News. Today we will be speaking with author and speaker Harold Leffall. He has just launched a I Am Enough campaign, which is to serve as a reminder to communities that they matter and have power to determine their destiny. I know as we've been reporting a lot on the network here lately on various programs about the election of Donald Trump, especially Hispanic communities are on edge, as he has announced they're going to start rounding up 2 to 3 million alleged illegal immigrants and putting them in prison and deporting them. So there's a lot of communities on edge right now, particularly that community. I do live in North Carolina, which has a high population of Hispanics and what have you. But also, we've talked about the black community as we look at what Donald Trump and the people he's been appointing in his administration. Seems like while most of the country was headed toward this drug war reform and what they call criminal justice reform, but y'all know me, I'm an abolitionist. I believe we need to abolish slavery in this country. But with Trump coming in and the people that he's appointing, we could see another Clinton administration. And I'm talking about Bill Clinton's administration, where he teamed up with Republicans to pass mass incarceration legislation, as it has been known as that Clinton crime bill. And that's when a lot of people, our communities, were targeted, and why we have the world's largest prison population on the planet today. So there is a number of communities that may feel on edge right now. Charlotte is still protesting. We are just outside of Charlotte. They've been protesting after the failure of the district attorney to bring charges forward in the shooting death of a Charlotte resident. And so again, I think that a lot of communities over the past couple of years have just really been on edge for a number of reasons. And so we want to bring in Mr. Leffall, who is also the author of 2 books, Living From Within, Getting to the Heart of True Happiness, Self-Acceptance and Peace, and Brother CEO, a Business Success Guide for African American men. So without further delay, we want to welcome Mr. Harold Leffall on. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Well, thank you, Scotty, for having me. I'm glad to be on your show to really talk about this important issue. As you know, November 9th, we all woke up in almost disbelief. It was like we were awakening to a nightmare. And so many people felt a sense of first shock and then panic. Like, what does this mean? What does it mean for our communities? And what does this mean for our lives and our freedoms and our liberties? And one of the things that I had to even remind myself is that even though there's been a shift in government, it doesn't diminish our power and who we are. And it was the reason why I felt it important to remind us through this campaign, I Am Enough, to remind individuals that you are still powerful and that you still have a voice. And in this moment, more than any other time, it's important that we realize that.
Yes, it is very important as I opened up. But first, let me just apologize to you, Mr. Leffall, because we were late in getting the program started and you hung in there with us through our technical difficulties. So let me just apologize for that. That normally doesn't happen. It was totally unexpected. So tell me, how did you give us the concept of I Am Enough campaign? What is this mission? What do you hope it will do?
Well, for me, growing up in Oakland, California, and growing up in the projects, the messages that I received from schools and outside of the community was that because I was a black man who grew up on welfare, dad was in and out of prison, that somehow I was diminished, that I was less than. And that was kind of the message and that I experienced going through high school. And so I always kind of felt like I wasn't quite enough. And even when I got to college, I felt like, am I really supposed to be here? Do I fit in? And I don't think that my experience is unique. I think so many of us, because of some of the backgrounds that we come from, some of the challenges that our family has experienced, we somehow have allowed those experiences to define us and limit our perception of who we are and what we can do. And so for me, it has been an ongoing journey to realizing that I like to say everybody's your equal. Nobody's better than you and no one's less than you. It doesn't matter if you're the CEO or the person that collects the garbage. Every human being is your equal. And when you know that, you're able to stand in your truth and in your power, no matter what changes occur on the outside.
So this campaign is what, to just get people to affirm their own personal power, or to come together as a community and empower the entire community through group participation?
It's to first to awaken your own personal power so that you have the confidence and the courage to speak up and connect with other folks that are like-minded, that are concerned about the changes in government and the way in which things are shifting. And so, and before you can really get engaged and have impact, you got to first realize and recognize your power. And doing that, the campaign is just a reminder of that. And then it also is about giving folks real strategy of what they can do to begin to shift that limited thinking that so many of us operate under.
Now, when I first read the slogan or the phrase "I am enough," and you had reached out to BTR about your campaign, at first I thought it was like anti substance abuse campaign saying "I am enough," and then I was also thinking about sports and steroid use among teens, and they feel like they're not enough. So, I mean, just that right there, I mean, it just speaks to it could speak to just so many different issues that people may be dealing with personally. Would you like?
Yeah, it's about stepping into your power and tapping into your courage. And one of the things that I've learned and believe is that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is, I feel the fear, but I'm gonna move forward anyway.
Right.
And it's reminding folks of that. you may feel afraid of what you're confronted with, the things that are in front of you. Because there's some scary things that you don't know how you're going to move forward. But I Am Enough is reminding us all that in spite of the challenges, in spite of the obstacles, in spite of the setbacks, I am enough to get back up. I am enough to move through this challenge. I am enough to make a difference, not only in my life, but also in my community. We all have that power. And so often we have not owned that and walked in that, and it has been to our detriment. We've allowed other people and other groups to make decisions for us and have allowed them to make us feel like we are less than and we don't have the power to control our destiny and move forward in our lives.
Now, let's talk about some reasons why some people might be feeling that way. And again, let me give out the new number. It's not really the new number, but our old studio line. Again, we are unable to connect to our conference line. And so that's like people trying to call in, but I'm unable to connect it. I can't explain it. So our number, if you would like to ask a question or make a comment, again, our guest today is Mr. Harold Leffall. We're speaking to him about I Am Enough campaign that he has launched to empower individuals and communities. But our telephone number is 704-951-5030. Again, that is 704-951-5030. And let me just make sure that that line is open for people to get in. Yes, it is. Okay. I wanted to talk about some of the reasons why some people might be feeling that way. Also, we were talking about the election, and I was talking about Donald Trump and the different things that we have been reporting on from what we've been reading and hearing out there. But this election, and I'm not just talking about the election the campaign between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, but also the Democratic primary, which was quite contentious. We know from these emails that Hillary Clinton's team was up to no good, and the DNC was up to no good as they sought to tip the scales in favor of Hillary Clinton versus all other primaries, and her main primary challenger was Bernie Sanders. So now with people seeing that, like, a lot of people equate voting with power, and it is a form of power, but it isn't the only tool that we should use in trying to obtain whatever it is we're trying to attain through the political process. But right now, a lot of people are feeling like even that doesn't matter, that your vote doesn't matter. The system is the way it is. It's going to pick the people that it wants to choose. So if you were a Sanders supporter right now, you might be part of a class action lawsuit against the DNC because of these leaked emails showing that they violated their own rules. And so you just might lose just all faith or hope or whatever. And so a lot of people know that politics control every people activity. And if you don't have any political power, well, here we are. So, I mean, what do you say to those people after this particular election? And maybe feeling powerless.
So much about political power. The root of that is about economic power. And so when communities and individuals rise up economically, they're able to have a much more influential voice. And for me, one of the things that I hear so often in the African American community, I always hear about people talking about wanting to start their business and wanting to do that, and we stay on delay. It's like we keep pushing things off, we keep putting things off, and never pursue those ventures that can really afford us the opportunity to step into and have economic power. And so part of I Am Enough is reminding and telling folks that if you have a dream and a vision, you will also have the provision to make it happen and to do something powerful that can change your life. Because if you're stuck, folks, when we are stuck in poverty, we don't feel like we have a voice. We don't feel like we can do anything to change the political system or have influence. And part of that there's some validity to that because folks in the political system don't listen or pay attention to folks without money,
Right,
without power.
right.
And so part of what we have to do in our community is start living to our fullest potential and making those moves in our lives that will elevate us economically.
Yeah, it is. It is connected. Money and politics. Right now, a lot of people have been talking about getting money out of politics and what have you. Big money out of politics, and so yeah, they do go hand in hand. You do have to use your economic power to express itself through the political parties. It is a corrupt system. There are some things that definitely need to be changed, but until those things are changed, you got to go by the rules of the game. And the rules of the game is whoever is putting the most money in my campaign coffers is the one I'm tending to push their agenda. And
And
so yeah.
so, in the meantime, what can we do in this moment and in this time is work on ourselves and building ourselves up and moving forward with pursuing our dreams and building our businesses, writing those books, doing all those things that we keep putting on the back burner. That's something you can control. You can control your own life and your own destiny. You may not be able to control the outcome of the presidential election, but you can certainly control your situation in your life and be able to make that better.
I do believe in being, I would say, hopeful always for the
Mm-hmm.
future, but I've been doing this a long time, running Black
Mm-hmm.
Talk Radio Network a long time. It'll be 8 years soon. And we report, I mean, hundreds and hundreds. I probably interviewed close to 1,000 people over the years and heard all these
Mm-hmm.
different stories and then the work of the other
Mm-hmm.
independent black media producers on our network, listening to the interviews that they do. And I mean, it sounds good because we have a Blacks in Business program on here, a couple of those that focus on
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship and whatnot. But then at the same time, we have to also look back when we people talk about Black Wall Street. Let's go there. Black Wall Street. Here, these people
Mm-hmm.
did everything that people today are aspiring to do. They weren't the
Mm-hmm.
only community that was able to achieve economic, political independence and set up their own little communities and whatnot, where they owned all the businesses, ran all the institutions. But that still did not save them from racist white terrorists out there. And we've been
Mm-hmm.
seeing,
Mm-hmm.
and so, I mean, when I look at that, and I'm like, okay, you economically empowered yourself, you were independent and whatnot, but why? But you weren't able to protect what you have. So
Mm-hmm.
when we live in an environment like we live in, I think you might have mentioned with hate crimes going up, increased bullying in school. I've
Mm-hmm.
been reporting on a couple of stories. It's getting real out there on the battlefield, Mister
Oh
Mister
yeah.
Leffall.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, since the election, there have been over 700 hate crimes reported. And my concern with communities is that we don't cower when confronted with the attacks and the bigotry. I think that there is that potential for us to just kind of withdraw from all of what we're seeing and feeling like there's nothing we can do. But we still live in a democracy. We still live in a democracy, and we have to feel empowered to speak up and allow our voices to be heard when things that are wrong occur. I think what some of the folks in the broader community are hoping that we will just kind of cower and just feel like we are not a part of and that our voices don't count. But our voices do count because this is still a democracy.
Now, you have some shirts that you're using to help fund this campaign. Again, we're talking about You Are Enough campaign to empower communities and individuals. And you
Mm-hmm.
want to use the proceeds to host these You Are Enough empowerment workshops. So can you tell us both
Yes.
about the fundraiser and the workshops?
Yeah. So we created a T-shirt line entitled "I Am Enough," and the on the T-shirt the E is slightly off. It's not perfectly aligned, and the reason for that is to remind individuals that although none of us are perfect, we're still enough to do the work that we're called and charged to do. And so the proceeds from the sale of the T-shirts are allowing us to put together almost like these town hall or workshop kind of events that are all about empowerment. And it's all about providing individuals with real tools and strategies, not just hype, but real tools and strategies, practical things that individuals can do to build up their confidence and build up their power to do the things that they need to do to begin to live the life that they want to live. And so the T-shirts are available on Facebook. You can purchase them at Harold Leffall Jr., my business page. You can purchase them online there. So we had.
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
we
sir.
Had our first. We had our first workshop in Oakland on November 19th. Our next one is going to be December 10th in a place called Oakley, California. And then we're looking to take it to different cities in 2017, to Texas, Atlanta, Chicago, and several other cities. And so we're looking to spread the message and to create a movement of folks that are organizing and supporting one another to move forward as we stand on the truth that we all are enough to do what we're called and charged to do.
Can you give us some examples that were shared in Oakland where you talk about some of the real strategies and tools that you use to empower them? What are some of those strategies and tools, if you don't mind sharing?
So one of the things that I shared, I'm one of two of the speakers. One of the things that I share, because so much feedback that I receive has to do with money and the lack thereof. And so for me, being an entrepreneur, I started my first business when I was 29, had no idea what I was doing, ended up filing bankruptcy 6 months after the business started. But through that process, I learned some very important tools that allowed me to rebound and build the business to a multi-million-dollar business. And one of those things was the value in failure. Too often in many communities, we look at failure as something to be ashamed of. Most folks that are wealthy understand that without failure, there's no success. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a stepping stone to success. And that's a shift in mindset for many of us, because when I first experienced business failure, I was ashamed. I didn't want to talk about it. Everyone saw that I had lost, my house, that I had filed bankruptcy, and there was shame associated with that. And the message I got from those around me was to give up and just go get a regular job. And so often, that's what we experience in our community. The moment you experience a failure, not really realizing that that's a part of success. Most millionaires and folks that are well off economically have had tons of failure. I remember meeting this guy who's a multimillionaire who shared with me a question he always asked his grandchildren. He always asked them, "What have you failed at lately?" And what he realized, the value there is that not to be afraid of failure, and that there's value in failure. And what happens is, as you fail at things, you get more information. And then you also are able to get what I call strong bounce back skills, meaning that when you fall down, you're able to get back up stronger. And so part of what I cover in the workshop is about reprogramming our minds, because for many of us, we were born for success, but programmed for failure. and programs for failure based upon the messages we got from those around us who told us, you can't do this, you can't have that, that will never work. And so for many of us, it's about reprogramming our mind. And how do we do that? It's about listening to tapes, reading books, being around like-minded people who are also looking to elevate their lives and looking to go to another level. Oftentimes, it means getting a new group and set of friends, folks that can challenge you and support you along the way. And so I talk about how you began to do that. It's not a one-time thing, and I often tell folks when they come to one of the You Are Enough workshops, not about all, hype. It's about giving practical strategies, and it's about leading that workshop, leading that experience with real tools and things that you can begin to put into practice. Because what our hope is that people will begin to develop new habits, to develop success habits. That's where real change comes. It comes in our habits.
I have a question. What happens after the workshop? I go to the workshop and I go and hear about these different tools and different strategies to empowerment. So after the night is over, and what happens then? Is there any
So then
type?
you become a part of our network. And
Okay.
so we have a network of folks that we are weekly sending updates and connecting to. We have a Facebook private group page that folks become a part of, where we're sharing new information, we're sharing different opportunities, and it's creating a community of like-minded people that are looking to elevate their lives.
Okay. Well, is there anything that, again, I want to apologize for the late start and thank you for being patient with us as I hate to cancel broadcasts, especially with when we have a guest that I feel like has some important information to share. So just thank you for your patience with us today. And did you have any final comments? And please let the people know again how they can get the shirt and how they can find out the schedule of workshops that are going to be happening.
Well, you can visit my website, which is www.haroldleffall.com. Last name is Leffall, spelled LEFFALL.com. And you can also go to the webpage on Facebook, actually, which is Harold Leffall Jr., and you can find out information about the workshops, and you'll see information on there about the T-shirts and our next schedule of cities that we will be bringing the You Are Enough empowerment event to. And so I just want to leave your audience with this, that no matter what challenges that they are facing, no matter what obstacles and setbacks that they are suffering from or encountering, that I love what Les Brown says. Les Brown says that when you fall down, fall backwards, because if you can look up, you can get up. And so, folks, we just have to be reminded that hope is still, as Jackson used to say, hope is still real. Hope is alive, and that we have to work at it. We can't allow ourselves to fall into stages of hopelessness, because if we do that, then the battle is over. And, it's important that we don't lose our faith and our hope.
Thank you again, Mr. Leffall. And please, we'd like to check back with you in a month or so and get a report from the field from you about how things have been progressing. And thank you again, sir,
awesome.
for caring enough to do something. A lot of people, they talk about the problems, we see the problems and what have you, but not so many of them have the wherewithal to go ahead and initiate some action. And so you seem to be a man of action, and I just hope that this is a successful endeavor, and we will see some of these communities come online as they realize their power. Thank you again, sir.
All right. Thank you, Scotty.
All right. Okay, so that's our end of our interview with Mr. Leffall. Again, I want to apologize to our listening audience, especially those who primarily listen through the conference line, that we were unable to connect to the conference line. I tried all kind of different ways, and it's just not enough. I just did not have enough time to get with the service provider to find out what was going on with that issue. So that's why we got on air late. But thank you for, just like I thank the guests, thank you for hanging in there with us. Not sure that Tando Radio Show is going to be on air. If I cannot resolve this issue, there's no way these other hosts can do their programs, especially with open lines. So I do need to get to work on that. Do just want to also let you know our media partners. And when I say our media partners, I'm not just talking about those who use the network and distribute their media, because we do have partnerships out there, but I'm talking about those who have donated to the Black Talk Media Project and who have supported us throughout the years. As you know, after the first of the month, we usually send out our statistical data in terms of our social media operations, how many people we're reaching, our radio station, of course, the podcast downloads, and all of that is being worked on, and they will be out in the next couple of days. If you would like to become a media partner and support the operations of Black Talk Media Project, again, we're a North Carolina-based nonprofit. You can go to blacktalkradionetwork.com. You can donate any amount. Doesn't matter. If you just give $1, you will get those statistical reports every month to see your return on investment. All right. So with that said, I do need to go ahead and close out this program. Please, again, check out the information related to Mr. Harold Leffall's I Am Enough campaign. You can also go to Harold Leffall. I keep saying Leffall because I keep thinking of Brandon Leffall, a football player, but Mr. Harold Leffall.com. That's HaroldLeffall.com, and you can also check the link that we have posted for you in our program description. Again, apologies for the technical issues, and we weren't able to use our other communications line. I saw a lot of people were trying to get in, but I just could not do it. Apologies. I will get to work on that right away so that we can make sure we get our other programming on tonight. So thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and close out this broadcast. I'll be back on air Monday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. We are lining up an interview with Pam Africa of the Move organization, the Move family. Looking forward to that interview with her. I think it'll be the second time I've interviewed her over the years. So looking forward to that, and we'll be talking to her Monday. So again, BTR News, we broadcast this program every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Recognize the fact that we live behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. Their Constitution, which is supposed to represent the supreme law of the land, says that it is still legal to practice slavery long as you can convict somebody of a crime. Doesn't matter if you set them up. All that don't matter. Don't matter if it's all white jury. Don't matter. Just get a conviction. You can put them into slavery. So if you recognize that fact, you're either going to be an abolitionist or you're going to be a slaver. All right, because I believe not Malcolm X, but Martin Luther King said that, we by our silence are perpetrators of all this violence and slave catching and whatnot. So we hope that you will recognize these facts and you'll get serious so that we don't leave this sorry country to future generations and they have to be fighting these same issues like we're doing. All right, peace and blessings. Y'all be safe out there over the weekend.